Hello, everybody.
How you doing, Roger?
I'm fair. I've been sick all weekend, but I'm here this week. I'm here today anyway. Um, so welcome to the June 11th, 2024 meeting of the IFC tag. And the agenda you see on the screen. And I think we should take Dustin a attendance.
Alrighty. Kicking it off with the chair alternate, Roger Haringa.
I am here.
Thank you. For architect primary, Ning Wang. I'm not seeing her in the attendees list. For architect alternate, Jacob Liddycoat.
Here.
Thank you. For building official primary, Quinn Tai.
Present.
Thank you. For the alternate, Ray Shipman. I'm not seeing Ray in our attendees list. For fire official, fire marshal primary, Ken Brulette.
Present.
Thank you. For cities and counties primary, Hugo Sotelo.
Present.
Thank you. For home builders and affordable housing developers, Mike Nykrum.
Yes.
Was that a yes from Mike? All right, I'm not seeing him present in the attendees list. General contractor or developer, Bill Mybush.
Present.
Thank you. For manufacturer supplier, Ricky Campbell.
Present.
Thank you. For fire protection engineer primary, Walker Danucci.
Present.
Thank you. For the alternate, Dave Cookup.
Present.
Thank you. For
So,
fire sprinkler industry primary, Sean Morgan.
Present.
Thank you. For the alternate, Kevin Marr.
Present.
Thank you. For general public subject matter expert, Samir Mokashi. I'm not seeing him in our attendees list. For the alternate, Seth Henderson.
Present.
Thank you. For fire alarm industry primary, David Mao.
Present.
Thank you. For the alternate, Zachary Tuck.
Present.
Thank you. And for fire chief primary, Lance Dahl.
Present.
Thank you. And with that, we have a quorum to proceed today.
All right. I just want to say I appreciate everybody being here. Getting quorums at tag meetings has not always gone well, and I appreciate everybody being here. Quinn, you have your hand up.
Yeah, question for Dustin. I have a hard stop at 3. With that, doesn't sound like it'll impact quorum.
No, let me just do a quick count here. No, if you left at 3, we would still be good with the quorum.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Review and approve agenda items. Excuse me. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda, or does anybody have comments?
Rod, this is Rick Campbell. I'd like to set forth agenda for approval.
Do I have a second?
This is Walker. I'll second.
Thanks, Walker. Is there any discussion or does anybody have any comments? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Meeting minutes. You know what? I want to jump back. I just want to make sure if there's anybody from the public that would like to be recognized. I'm not sure there is, but I want to give everybody the opportunity if that's the case.
There's a couple folks in here that aren't members of the tag. So if you guys want to be recognized, raise your hand, please. No hands going up.
Okay, that's fine. I wanted to give everybody the opportunity. So review of the minutes. We have both the June 4th and the June 7th meeting minutes. They were posted, but if you could kind of slowly page through those, Dustin, that would be a good idea.
So these are the minutes from the last Tuesday's meeting, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. And then we have also the minutes from last Thursday's meeting.
Friday.
You mean last Friday's?
Friday, sorry.
Yep, that's right.
Roger, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Thank you, Ricky. Do I have a second?
Lance Dahl, second.
Thanks, Lance. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, with that, we will move on to agenda item number 4, review of work complete and received by staff. One thing I just wanted to mention, Dustin, I would like to go back. We should have somebody at the staff member go back and in our meeting notes, is it clear that we have approved all of the different chapters? I know we've been kind of bouncing around which chapters are and which are not.
Yeah, so in the different minutes, we do have those, which chapters are being approved,
Okay.
marked in those in here. So if we were to digest the section 4 here, not all the chapters were addressed, but each motion is for a specific chapter, and they're named out there within the minutes.
So at some point here, as we're wrapping up, and I think this tag in particular is starting to get close. Just going back through the meeting minutes and make sure that we haven't skipped over one, and give an official approval, would be good. So
Okay,
if we can put that on the to-do list.
we can
And then
definitely.
I will turn it over to you. I missed Friday's meeting, so I'm not sure what we did and didn't get approved. So I'm going to leave it to Dustin to kind of move us along.
All right. So I'll check all the chapters are included in the minutes and bring that update here at the next meeting. But we've been relying on it's a spreadsheet here that we've been using for the staff to show what chapters are approved and not approved for everybody. So, but we'll double check that they're all in the minutes, and I'll bring that to our next gathering. All right, so moving forward, we're looking at chapter 10 here to kick off the group. And it looks like this particular spreadsheet is only highlighting significant changes. Pull up the Word document here.
Well, and Dustin, I might have used the significant changes and had extra stuff put in there, but
Okay,
we
that's no
can go
worries.
through it.
If we need to pull stuff out to the other page, that's no problem as long as we identify it here as we're moving forward. Let me get our WAC open in a different screen just so I can kind of run along with that one as well. Okay, so it looks like our first amendments in section 1003.7. And for some reason, when I open these things up, they are scrolled down to the end. And so I'm like, man, this is a short document. But then I get back up to the top and it's a little bit longer. So, all right. And then as far as we'll just scroll through here as we go. 1003.
Dustin, you're not sharing your screen right now.
My apologies. I'm ahead of my cart here. We want to. All right, I think we should be seeing my screen now. Okay. All right, so moving on. 1003.3.1 headroom where has a new exception in there. It's not part of this spreadsheet. Lance, would you consider this one a non-significant addition on this one?
Yeah.
Okay. And here we go. First Amendment 1003.7 elevators, escalators, and moving walks. Looks like our amendment adds a second exception to this one. For here, keep the state amendment, adding the exception number 2, no cost amendment needed. So this is one that I want to move over to the existing amendment spreadsheet. Instead of moving stuff like that right now, I'm going to opt to mark it in the side here, and I will move those over after this meeting here. And you'll see them again once we push it out to the master document. This will be collated a little bit different. All right, moving on. 1004.5 is the next state amendment. And with the recommendation to repeal that amendment. And I'm just moving some stuff over here so I can follow along. 1004.5 model code has the same language. So no amendment shown in the body of the text here. It's all exactly the same. So we will move forward with that one. I'm going to zoom this out a little bit so I can highlight that square without having to scroll around. Okay. 1004.5.1. It's an existing state amendment. And want to delete the state amendment because the model code is the same in here. And then in table 1004.5, we have an amendment in here. And let's see, maximum floor area allowances per occupant. Do we know where exactly that amendment lies inside this text here? Is it?
Yeah, I'm trying to bring it up in in the state doc.
So it looks like there's a change. They've added information technology equipment facilities. That's a new line in this one. Would we consider that a significant addition on this one?
I think it aligns with other changes that the model codes are making throughout, but it is a new line to the table.
It is a new line.
Yep.
And it looks like our amendment adds fixed guideway transit and passenger rail systems.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And it's probably maybe a little difficult to insert a line in this, maybe. Let's see. Exercise rooms.
Wouldn't be too bad. We had it after exercise rooms before. Yep.
And Oh, I'm not typing at all. What the heck? Okay. Okay. Give me a moment. My keyboard is behaving erratically. Type on the laptop. All right. So they looks like it's like platforms in concourse lobby have the same occupant load factor. Should they be separate lines in here or just it's what it looks like on our WAC section. So I'll leave it as is for now.
Yeah, in the old table, it's still in the same line.
Okay. So it could look like this and be okay.
Yeah, I think it's just moved down. If you just hit enter and move it down one, that's kind of how it is in the old version. Just the concourse lobby.
Like that.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. And
Yeah,
then
that's the way it currently is. Yeah.
and is that the only amendment to the table?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the only one I see.
So keep the state amendment. Now then, moving to 1005.1. You have an amendment that adds an exception in here with the recommendation to keep the state amendment. All right. 1006.2.1. With the amendment that adds the extra exception there. One thousand six point two point one. Keeping the state amendment is the recommendation. So our amendment adds the exception number 1 in there. 1006.3.4 for single exits. So in 2024, they changes occupied to occupiable roof in here. And is the rest of the state amendment picked up in the model code?
Yeah, I don't think it's needed, but we can have that discussion here for sure.
Okay. We got some hands up. Ken Brulette.
Hey, I'm sorry. Back to the table 1004.5. Did you talk about the state amendment that adds billiard table under
We did
assembly.
not talk about that one.
Maybe I missed that one, Ken.
And that's added under which section, Ken?
That's added under assembly, under gaming floors, exhibit gallery, the third one, billiard table,
Gotcha.
game area, 50 gross.
Okay. And highlight that stuff. Okay. Looking good, Ken?
Thanks, Ken.
You got it.
Thanks. I saw another hand up. It went down. Were we talking about that same topic?
Actually, no different one in the table. Actually, back down to fixed guideway.
Okay.
So I'm trying to look at the building code as well, because I think part of our intent is to make sure we're aligned.
Gotcha.
And so building code, looking on ICC safe right now, but on the building code 1004.5, they do have two separate lines. For platform, they say 100 gross. For concourse/lobby, they say C section 3116.
Oh, is it maybe ours should be more like that?
I'm thinking so. Does anybody have any thoughts on that? Checking 3116 at the building code. Yeah, that was where, yeah, so I think it should be 49, C section 4901 for concourse/lobby for us.
So, and that's something that we coordinate with the building tag if there's something different there. But I think that's a different section for us.
Yes, it's 4901 for us. Yeah. I think the way Dustin's got it would be correct. I guess this cell should be green also, Dustin, but
okay.
I think this is accurate.
Oh. Alrighty. That seemed like we got the table taken care of on that one.
Yep.
My monitors and everything just did something goofy. Give me 1 second.
While you're doing that, Dustin, I figured I'd mention I do need to switch to another meeting at 1:30. I think you're okay on quorum, but I wanted to mention I'll be away at 1:30 and rejoining at 2:30.
Okay. I think with that one, yeah, and Dave's here as your alternate, so we would be okay on that one. Okay, I realized I stopped sharing my screen. Let me get that back up here. Okay, we should be good to go on that. All right, so back to 1,000.
It's actually something that I'm looking at other than just the construction of the wall. So you can see my mouse, and can someone give me a verbal whether or not you see my cursor?
Lance, are you talking to the group here?
No, something else came on my other screen. I got it.
see the wiring or the wire that goes to the door. So
Okay, so 1006.3.4. .4 single exits. We don't think the state amendment is needed. There's one change from occupied to occupiable roof, and it appears that the state amendment has been is covered by the model code. And I don't have that up on my screen here just yet. Let me get to it. 1006.3.4. So single exit. That's number one. I would tend to agree that the amendment is no longer needed. I'd have to compare to the 21 code to see exactly what's going on here. Anybody else have input on that one?
Do you want me to read what our amendment is?
Well, I'm getting to it here at the moment. If you would like to, you can.
Yeah, just under number one, it says the occupant load, comma, number of dwelling units and exit access travel distance. The state amendment reads, within the portion of the building served by the single exit. That's the state amendment.
Okay.
Do not exceed the values in the tables. I don't know when this amendment went in, what they were trying to prove.
Okay.
That probably came from building, because I don't think we did it, did we?
Yeah, I would have to agree. It came from building side.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, looks like it was a 2021 original notice. I'm just following the tree on the WAC website. And yes, it was Building Code Council.
Okay, now that we have that one stuck in there, what's the opinion on keeping this amendment or recommending removal?
I think we'd want to coordinate that with the building tag, but I think that I don't see why it's needed. It's confusing.
It seems redundant. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll still leave a question mark on this one for that one. Okay, moving to 1008.2.3.
So this is one that the state does not adopt. It's all about exit illumination from the exit itself, so the door, to the public way. And for some reason, the state of Washington does not want to enforce any type of lighting regulation.
And has this one been on the books for a while?
I think so.
I think a code cycle or two.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So we're okay with maintaining that amendment?
Yes.
Okay. Illumination required by emergency electrical system. As far as this one goes, do we want to maybe recommend a potential amendment for this section?
I don't think it, are you, because you're thinking it has something to do with 1008.2.3?
Well, I just bring it up because it's all blue and it's illumination, and you were mentioning that the state doesn't want to enforce illumination stuff.
I think that's just the exterior of the building. I think we still want illumination.
Yeah, the interior stuff to stay.
Okay. So as far as the addition of 1008.3, not a significant addition.
I'm sorry, I'm a little slow catching up here. Let me find the language.
I would think so.
Now, wasn't this just they just sat there and coordinated where this was already required in other places of the code and just put it in here? Just yeah, so
Yeah.
so all these areas were already required. It was just trying to coordinate, put it in one area.
Okay. Moving to 1009.1, state amendment, adds exception 3 there, with the recommendation to keep the state amendment. One 1009.8. So 1009.8, there's an amendment in here. Looking at what it is in the 2021 code.
It is that whole section 1 through 6. And it seems like it's all incorporated to me in the new.
So in number
version.
2, after the word ramps, our state amendment says ramps that provide a direct path of egress travel to grade or the level of exit discharge, and then conforming to the provisions of section 1012.
So I guess we do have some clarification in there on the wordage, but
Yeah, these are a little bit difficult because we don't know for sure which tag did it. And building tag is obviously over the fire tag, but this section, so.
Right.
It's difficult for us to take out a amendment if the other group doesn't accept it. So that's gonna be an interesting coordination thing. But Lance, you're on the building tag too, correct?
Yeah, yeah, and I can bring
So-
it up when we talk about.
Yeah, that I think that'll help. We get some good coordination between the two tags that way.
I think that there are a few items that need coordination between the two tags.
Yeah, and we'll see what they do to our chapter 9 also.
Moving on to 1009.8.1. Some new language in there. Then the last sentence is two-way communication system. That's our amendment there. 1009.8.1. Keep the state amendment but modify because of new language in 2024. So okay. One thousand nine. Yeah. Okay. 1010.2.4. Keep the state amendment, but modify with new language. So let's see, 1010. Did somebody hear somebody?
Yeah, I think it had to do with the table, and I didn't mess with the table.
Okay. It looks like 1010.2.4 has some significant amendments in there. I'll put on the screen the online version here. 1010 to, I don't know why it does that, but here we go. So the text in red is the state amendment. And okay. Up again. 1010 2.4. So into so on this one, do we need to do a little bit more looking on this particular one to see if the model code language covers these amendments at all, or what's the opinion on this section?
And my concern was if, according to the WAC stuff that we had in there, if any of that needed to be moved over because of what the WAC had stated.
It looks like we definitely need to incorporate that into the Word document. But just keep the state amendment. So should we dog ear this one for further review as the process moves forward?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, because we even have the base code language wrong in our amendment. So
Yeah.
our
That's
number, yeah, our number 2 is all of us, but then the base code language number 2, I don't even know where we have that.
It's, yeah, it was, I think it's down further below that in the state amendment. I thought I saw one put a place there.
No, I got them side by side on my screens. I don't see. This
Okay.
is just a screwed up section.
Yeah, we need to get it fixed. The building tag needs to fix it.
Further review needed by building tag. To ensure correct drafting of amendment language. Okay. All right. Looks like 1010.2.13 for security grills is our next section. Ten
0.1313.
Yeah, I'm looking at our state amendments and I don't see that one in here. Is the code section a different section here?
No, it's 1010.34 security grills. Is that what you're talking about?
That's the one I'm seeing.
Yes. Did I have it numbered wrong?
Yeah, it's all good. 1010.2 or .3.4. Security grills. Delete the amendment. It's the 2024 IFC matches this one. So they're not showing new language. Do we know what was picked up here?
Guess we got to figure out what our existing amendment was.
Well, looking at the 2021 online version, 1010.3.4, it shows no state amendment in here. So yeah, I have a feeling that this one
think it was
an amendment, but it didn't need to last cycle.
Yeah, I think it was picked up last cycle. We just didn't pull it out.
Okay.
And then, of course, add in our fixed transit and passenger rail system amendment.
And then just adding this one in 1010.3.4.1. Uh, 1011.17. Stairways and individual dwelling units with the recommendation to keep the existing amendment. 1012.1 for scope. Keep the state amendment. And it says see the Word document. That's just the see the Word document just indicates that the what you see here is the amendment, pretty much.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right, 1014.2. for
And I
height.
think this,
Go ahead.
I think this one, we have to modify a table and a footnote, maybe. Oh, no, maybe I'm looking at the wrong one.
Oh, I went a little far. So in the 2021 code, there's a 1014.2.1 as well. Let's see. So we have an amendment to 1014.2, pretty short and concise. And then we have the exceptions. So it's a little bit reorganized, it looks like, in this section. Or is there something missing here that they're showing? So I kind of agree with the review the new language in the 2024 model code. So do we have a opinion on this one? It looks like we add height and location in between 1014.1 and 1014.2.
Yeah, I think we probably need to look at just a little bit more.
Okay.
Let's be sure.
And coordinate with the IBC tag on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think both of those need to make sure that we match whatever the IBC is doing.
Both of these next two right here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 1014.2.2 lateral location. Looks like this is new language and it picks up the existing state amendment. And it looks to be the same. Ten 14.9. Keep the state amendment. 1014.9 is renumbered with some new sections there. This was 1014.8 in the 2021. And and there we go. Keep the existing amendment and modified table with new 2024 IFC language. I'm in the wrong one. I'm sorry. Keep the state amendments. Plain and simple.
Yep.
1015-2, where required. Keep the, make sure I'm reading, delete the state amendment. So the state amendment for this section reads, come on. Where are we at? 1015.2.
Yeah, and I think they picked up our 9 and 10.
Looks like it, but this sentence here, the lofts in accordance with section 420.14 of the International Building Code. We think that the lofts and everything have been picked up with the inclusion of lofts in the 2024 codes?
It should, because a lot of these are wobble proposals, and wobble basically took our state amendments.
Okay. So we in agreement then to remove the amendment for 1015?
Yeah, I would say so. Because all of these are existing amendments that we were finally able to get ICC to vote on to
Okay.
change.
And then 1015.3 for height. Delete this state amendment. In our state amendment, we had a new, we added number 4, and in the exceptions, it says in areas with ceiling heights of 7 feet or less. Hmm. So we should have something in here.
Yeah, that one I believe we tried to get amended, but it got shot down.
Okay. So maintain this amendment?
Yeah, I would say so. That would be my vote.
Moving to 1020.6.
Or did we miss the table at exit travel distance 1017 too?
Yes, we did. I'm sorry.
So we need to keep the state amendment, I think, and then modify that table with the new 24 language and footnote.
This is 1017.2. So I'm looking here. We have that indicated in our WAC that we have an amendment there in the 2021 online version. I'm not seeing any red text jumping out at me. Does anybody in here have the amendment spotlighted at all for us by chance? Oh, I see. In the online in row 1, the AE, F1, M, R, and S1, there's a footnote E that they're pointing out to. And group R3 and R4 buildings equipped throughout with an automatic sprinkler system in accordance with. Okay. What is this? Here we go. And there's no amendment within the footnote E on this one. You can't even see that there's a note there. I guess if we blew it up, you'd see it, but there we go. All right. All right, 1020.6.
Dustin, can you go back up for a second?
Yes, sir.
Regarding that footnote, where you had that footnote. I kind of question why we would want to put E under without sprinkler system. Because that footnote is about sprinkler system. So why would you go to a footnote in that column? You know, that column is only about without sprinkler systems.
I think didn't the E have to go in the, shouldn't it have been in the 250 B and E?
Yeah.
Or did they add that already?
I know it's in the third column for with automatic sprinklers, but why are we adding it to without automatic sprinklers?
I don't know. That's how it is how it is in the last cycle.
So that's my only question. I'm kind of questioning that motive.
So we need to question the building tag again.
I mean, does my question make sense?
It makes perfect sense, and
Yeah, it does.
I just wish I had the answer in front of me. Why that, like the rationale for adding the E there.
Yeah, I would question. I would go back to the building tag and say, why are you putting an E under this column?
Okay.
So the difference in the table is the type of sprinkler system. If you look at footnote B as in boy, it only has to do with 13 and 13R. And footnote E would be your 13Ds.
E.
And so that's model code footnote language there. So it's correct where the E needs to go.
But that column is only about buildings without sprinkler system. So why would you even need to go to footnote E if you're only if the X travel distance is 200 max without a sprinkler
Because
system?
you can go. So they're making an assumption that maybe they're making an assumption that not all, because the new code, the code requires sprinklers in the IRC, but not necessarily in the IFC. I'm just trying to figure it out. There's a reasoning for that with regards to existing non-sprinkler buildings. That's what I think they're talking about. They're making an assumption that all the buildings are going to be sprinklered.
So then you would use that last column instead then. So 250.
No, the last column is only for sprinkler systems that are 13 or 13R systems. You get the extra 50 feet.
There's a footnote E there too.
I understand that, but E is making the assumption that all buildings already have a 13D system in it. So if I just have a 13D system, I get 200 feet. If I have a 13 or 13R, I get 250 feet. So I understand the table says without an automatic sprinkler system, but it really means you only have a 13D system in that footnote.
But that last column has footnote B and E. So it does encompass.
No, it should not. It
Oh,
should not.
oh yeah, our state amendment does take out that E.
Yes, it does.
Dustin, did you get that? So that last column doesn't have an E. Got it.
Clear as mud, right?
I knew something was wrong there. It's like I see the two E's there. It's like, what's the whole purpose of
Well,
having two E's?
and I'm sorry because I'm only staring at the 24 base code. I wasn't even looking at what he's presenting on the screen that has a second E, or I would have caught on fast. Sorry about that. I need a fifth monitor.
So I guess that makes sense then. So I mean, the middle column is for existing buildings with a D system. So yeah, so we could leave that footnote there. We don't need to.
Do we need to just keep the amendment? No need to worry about bugging
yeah. It makes sense if we remove one of the E. Having both E's there really confuses things.
Okay. And 20.6 air movement in corridors, existing state amendment with the recommendation to keep the amendment. Is there more supposed to be?
Yeah, I think there is more stuff that needed to come over. Okay. Because there's 6, 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Okay. Not as pretty as I would like it, but that is okay because the content is there. And 1023.12. Says keep the existing state amendment that adds the following where interior exit stairways and ramps are pressurized in accordance with 909.20.5 of the IBC. The smoke control pressurization system shall comply with the requirements specified in section 909.6.3 of the International Building Code. Okay. And then that, I think, brings us to the end of chapter 10. Alrighty. So, reviewing back I think everything we have on here is existing amendments report material. And we didn't identify anything that we are going to flag as significant changes in chapter 10. Is that agreeable to the group here?
It is.
Alrighty, then I think we are in a position to entertain a motion on this chapter.
As my primary is now no longer online, I get to make a motion. So I make a motion, we forward chapter 10 to the master document.
This, Kevin, I'll second.
Alrighty. Any further discussion on that topic? Seeing no hands, hearing no voices, all in favor of moving chapter 10 as depicted on the screen to our master document, please say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Is there any opposition? All right, that motion passes. That. And now we are ready for chapter 11.
Didn't we do 11?
Let me just double check. I think we started it and maybe paused it. I might be thinking of yeah, we did. I must have been looking at the building code. We haven't hit that one in the building code yet.
Okay, just I just loved doing code, but not over.
Okay. Then with that one, we are on chapter 36. Put that back up there. Something open here in a moment. And then for 36, this was done by Ricky.
Yep.
Let me make some more notes real quick and then we'll hop right into this.
Sorry about my Excel spreadsheet wasn't as put together as it should have been. Same with 5.
That's okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then getting into chapter 36 on our whack over here. 2 seconds. All right, 3601 for permits. Recommending to keep the state amendment.
Mm-hmm.
Looks good. And section 3602.1 definitions. Keeping the state amendment.
Yeah, keeping the state amendment. Our state amendment had more definitions or more clarity. So, yeah.
Gotcha. And then 3604.2. And
Yeah, keeping the state amendment.
Now, as far as the red text here, is this the model code text?
Model code. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. 3604.3 or okay, I'm just
Yeah, I was having big problems with numbering and stuff like that, was bouncing around a lot.
yeah, we are so it's interesting when we're messing with some of these as the staff, we're noticing some of these documents don't give the numbering problems like some of the other documents. I'm not sure if anybody changed anything in there or what the deal is, if there's just a friendly gremlin working for us there, but it's nice when you can highlight that number and copy paste it somewhere. If you're messing with these and you highlight it and it won't let you highlight that, it'll throw off your numbering real quick.
Right.
So 3604.3, keep the state amendment. 3604.4 looks to be
So that chapter thing, that chapter, I don't know why I just didn't do another chapter. So
keep scrolling.
Yeah, scroll. All that is still chapter 36. I don't know why. Like I said, I'm having problems with, you see how it says 3604.4, chapter 36, not chapter 37.
Is the chapter 37, did you add that in or was that?
I didn't. No, I don't know. Like I said, I was having problems.
Yeah.
Does that stuff.
There's a way to get it out of there. What
Header
exactly?
and footer. I know that it just made it difficult. Just go cut, delete it or something.
Okay, come on. Come on, header and footer, work with me. Okay. We'll just leave that as is for now. It's about all I can do without probably breaking it. So 3604.4, we'll keep on moving.
Deep data amendment. Yep.
Okay, keep the state amendment, 3604.4, 3604.7, smoke and heat vents. Keep the state amendment, 3604.7.1, design installation, keep the state amendment, 3604.7.1.1, keep the state amendment, but may need to coordinate with the IBC.
Yeah, so both of those, the addition of putting fire curtains, things like that, there may be a reason to talk with them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same for this one. And 3604.8, recommend keeping the state amendment and coordinating with the building code. 3604.8.1, same recommendation, and same for 3604.8.2.
Yep.
And as far as significant changes,
None.
none identified. All right, so that wraps us on chapter 36. Do we want to talk about any specific sections or entertain a motion for movement on this one?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about the permit section. That it's a state amendment, but I don't really know why we have it in there. It's just a pointer, and all of those permits are already in 105.5. So I don't know why we need to point people back to it. The model code doesn't point people back to it. I don't know why Washington would feel like we have to point them back to 105.5. So I don't think it's necessary, but wait to see what the rest of the group says.
I could agree with that, Ken, Lance. It's kind of redundant in this chapter.
So
I don't
we'd
think
recommend to
the automotive
remove it.
fueling chapter does that.
Dave, I didn't quite make out what you were saying.
I'd like to get rid of the amendment. We don't need it.
Okay.
My goal is get rid of as many amendments as possible.
So should we change the recommendation here to removing the amendment?
That's what my recommendation would be.
Okay. All right. Any other sections we might want to revisit? Then it looks like it's time to entertain a motion.
I will make the motion to move chapter 36 forward to our list, but it has a
Would second
caveat.
that, Lance.
But I'm not done. As long as you'll second that we can have a 5-minute break after this vote.
I'll second that.
All right. Who was the second on that? I heard Quinn, but were you the first one?
Lance was the first, I think.
I started, but I interrupted Ken. It doesn't matter.
Okay. Any further discussion on chapter 36? Seeing no hands, hearing no voices. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All righty. That motion passes, and it sounds like we're due for a bio break. So how about we meet back here at 2:30?
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on forward, we're on to chapter 39 now. And this review was completed by Hugo.
Correct.
Chapter 39 contains no existing amendments, has a couple stuff identified on the existing or the significant changes report. So let me zoom that out so I can see everything. So 3901.1 for the scope.
So Dustin, we're not seeing anything yet.
Oh, that's my bad. I didn't think I ended my screen share. Oh, I got kicked off with that notice that we put up there for hanging out. No biggie. All right, chapter 39, section 3901.1 for scope. Determine if exception is acceptable for greenhouses. Highlighted here for you guys. Oops, sorry, not all that. Greenhouses in compliance with section 3112 of the IBC, not utilizing carbon dioxide enrichment. No cost, amendment needed potentially. Any opinions on that one, Hugo?
Yeah, so I kind of just didn't want to exclude greenhouses if I believe the use of other hazardous materials were used in there. I didn't want it to kind of be an scapegoat to not comply.
Having been involved with this from the beginning, we probably want to put something else, is that greenhouses for growing only. For instance, would be a potential modification to that, because if they're doing processing in there, that would be another issue. But if they're just doing the growing, that I could see that being an allowable exception. So I think we probably ought to do some more review of this.
Okay, so I got it marked as a proposal needed and additional review needed for that section. Moving to the next section, 3901.2, existing buildings or facilities with no cost, no amendment needed for the new model code language. Moving to 3901.4 for lighting. New section with no cost and no amendment identified as being needed. And same for 3901.5 for carbon dioxide generation. No cost, no amendment needed. 3903.7. Means of egress is a new section. There's a little bit of cost associated with the changing doors and door frames. No amendment identified as being needed. Moving to 3905.3. We have ventilation. Determine if an exception should be modified to include approved by the fire code official per 104.2.3. You have that added in here as a potential amendment in here. Any opinions on that one?
Yeah, I think I just wanted to give a little bit more authority to the AHJ.
Okay.
All right, I concur with that. That sounds good.
Yeah, and I think 104.2.3, when I think about it, it's like other means and methods, other engineered systems. So
Mm-hmm.
kind of coincides with the same.
Okay.
I'm
Yep,
kind of torn on this one because I mean it's kind of repeating or what the code already allows, right? So I mean, do we need this additional language when chapter 1 already says the fire code official has the authority to approve things?
Well, maybe also consideration the allowable exceeding 25%. I don't know if that's industry standard or if it's restrictive in other areas, but I just like the idea of falling back on the AHJ, especially if there's specific design parameters per your jurisdiction.
I think I see where you're going with this. Would it make better sense to put where approved by the fire code official in the beginning of the exception?
Yeah, no, that works too.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
So on this one, we still need a proposal. And as far as evaluating the location of this proposed language, we would just do the additional review on that one with the proposal during the a generation of the CR 102 period after a proposal period.
That works.
So, go ahead.
Yeah, that works. I just don't think that we need the only thing other edit I would say is remove per 104. We could just say where approved by the fire code official.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
Let me jump in just a minute. The 25% LEL is a pretty common industry standard for flammable environments. So essentially what you guys are saying is you can exceed the 25% LEL. Is that what you guys are saying?
No,
Yeah,
no.
that's the model code.
Right. So that's by allowing the fire marshal to change it is you're here the section allows you to do different engineering methods to essentially meet the standard of 25% LEL. I think you don't modify it. I think this is good enough standard and you can go to chapter 1 and do something else.
No, this is saying that you can reduce the exhaust rate.
Right. As long as you meet 25% LEL. And
but
you guys,
but that's not something that we want across the board.
Why not? It's an industry standard. Everywhere, 25% LEL is the absolute gold standard for this.
But I think that's where Lance, yeah. I mean, Lance, is that where you're going? Is that you don't think this should be a straight up approval, that it should be approved by the fire code official?
I don't think Lance answered what was part of that.
Oh.
Yeah, I think the AHJ should dictate that. I mean, we're relying on a design professional to demonstrate, right? So I think if you go back to some of the language in 104, there's a means and methods that would allow that approval.
So you essentially saying your fire marshal should dictate it should be 22% or 26%. Do you really want to do that?
I think the AHJ can accept the demonstrated engineered ventilation system. It's up to them.
I'm
So
not sure. I'm not sure they have the capability to do this. That's what I'm saying. This is 25% is pretty standard stuff. Anyway, you can approve it. I can propose but I think you're actually making it more complicated and reducing safety and giving it to somebody who doesn't always know why they should do this.
Well, you can make it more restrictive. If you're not accepting a mechanical system that isn't listed or already previously approved, and you're relying on a registered design professional to demonstrate that it works in some form or fashion,
right?
I think the AHJ needs to have the ability to accept that and approve that if so.
Which they already have. All it's saying is the performance standard should be 25% LEL, and you can use other than the prescriptive exhaust, right? That's what this is saying. You are saying they can change the approval standard.
I don't think that's what it's saying. Basically, it's just to prevent it from exceeding 25%. The minimum can be reduced down to such engineering design. The design professional is going to have to be able to say, well, no, we still have to meet the 25%. But if it's like it's 22% and they want to be able to decrease the percentage and the rate of exhaust, then that should be by approval by the building by the fire code official.
Which is what chapter 1 already does, but okay.
Yeah, this whole chapter is based off of engineering design. That's how the original chapter was put together because we originated this chapter. So the engineering reports and stuff that were done were all set up for review by the fire code officials. So I'm comfortable with it because I'm one of the original authors.
Okay, all right.
I mean, Samir raises a question, and coming from the design community and not the approval community, should the sentence, and I'm asking the question, are we saying that the 25% could be modified by the fire code official?
I don't think it's saying that.
Okay, and that's not, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because
then I'm good with that. That was my issue. That
yeah,
the way it was phrased, it was changing to 25%.
As a designer, I need to know if I need to show you, I'm a design professional. I want to show you, okay, this works.
Right.
I want the criteria to show you that it works in the code.
Yep.
Okay.
So for Bob, it's saying 5 CFM per square foot, but if I can do it at 4.5 CFM per square foot and not exceed the 25% LEL, then it's a performance-based design, but that's something that the HA needs to be able to consider and may say, no, you have to go to the 5.
Okay. I get it now.
Okay.
Okay. 3905.3.2 and .3.3 and .3.4, all new sections with some cost. No amendment identified as being needed for these sections. And that brings us to the end of chapter 3905. Is there any additional sections we'd like to go back to on this one? All right, if that's the case, then we are in a position to entertain a motion.
This is Quinn. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve this with the modifications that we just talked about.
Okay. So when you say the modifications we talked about, you're talking about on the proposed language?
Correct. So I would say move where approved by the fire code official. And then the rest of that.
As far as that, I would like to receive a proposal for this additional language for inclusion in the.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what we got worded in the spreadsheet.
So are we still okay, Quinn,
Yep.
with a motion on that one?
Yep. I'll go ahead and make the motion.
And that was who's got the second on that?
I'll second it. This is Samir.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor of moving chapter 39 to our master document, please say aye.
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 Aye. Is there any in opposition? Hearing none, that motion passes. All right. And with that one, we're on to 40. On 40, we had Kevin Marr do 40 and 50 and 58. I have those all in one spreadsheet. There's no existing amendments for those chapters, and so I want to hit all three of those together here. Hold on. 40 here. So there's several new sections in here. Kevin, are you recommending any amendments for any of these sections?
No, I don't believe so. We there aren't any existing amendments, like you said. Basically, there was some new language that clarified the fire protection schemes for these palletized storage and some rack storage.
Okay.
So that's I just line itemed each one of those in case we wanted to make any changes in the future. But that was the major change for this section. Then the other one was down near the bottom. They increased the alcohol volume from 16% to 20%.
4005.3.
Yeah. Right there in 405.3.
And that's the end of chapter 40. Does anybody have any more they want to discuss on chapter 40?
Yeah, can one of these smart engineers on here explain to me what bulk storage is? Because I can't find a definition for bulk beverage storage.
Where you store bulks. You wanted an engineering definition. Usually there is a definition for bulk storage within this section. I haven't looked at this chapter at all yet, but I'm familiar with the original language and stuff that was put through with this. That could be a proposed amendment to clarify that.
Where would that maybe go in here?
And up above, it looks like it'd be the first part of it.
Because it references, I'm sure, chapter 9 for sprinklers. The 903.2.9.3 section for group S1 distilled spirits or wine says sprinkler systems shall be provided for a group S1 fire area used for the bulk storage of distilled spirits or wine. So I can't find a definition for bulk.
Sounds like an amendment time.
So
I'll tell you what I'm proposing in Seattle. We just struck the word bulk.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that too. So, but I think we could do it as a proposal.
Ken, can you let me know what section that was in again?
So go to the beginning of 40. Yeah, you're hold on. I'm in chapter 9. Just keep scrolling down. Right there. So let's go 4004.4. Not too sure what bulk beverage storage is.
So 4004.4. So if we were just to change it to say beverage storage areas throughout that whole. Is bulk mentioned anywhere else in that chapter?
Is bulk intended to be in barrels versus bottles?
I think that's the question, is if it's not clear.
This is the only spot where the word is used in this chapter.
It's funny I didn't catch it further on in the sentence past that. Okay. Yeah, I think that we put a recommendation for a definition for bulk, or remove bulk.
Okay.
This has been a long time in coming, this chapter, so this is well received from our jurisdiction.
Okay. Proposal needed. Okay. Anything else in chapter 40? All right. Do we want to move individual chapter, or do we want to move all the chapters within this Excel spreadsheet as one?
I think we'd want to do each chapter just because.
Yep. Okay. So then we'd be in a position to entertain a motion on chapter 40.
And I can no longer do so because Walker's back, so I'll be back sitting back behind.
Lansdale, I'll move. So moved.
Okay.
Hugo seconds.
Hugo. Any further discussion on this topic? Seeing no hands, hearing no voices, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion is a pass. So moving on to chapter 50. So in chapter 50, we're saying that was there not a chapter 50 in the 2021 code? Just the reason I ask is it's all marked as not applicable in the column here.
In the WAC, there's no amendments in the WAC. Just
I hear you. Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Table 5003.1.15.
There's a few editorial changes in those tables that you're going through, but I didn't, to me, they didn't look like they were significant changes.
Okay.
They may mean significant to somebody else, but to me, they didn't seem like they were.
Does anybody see any of these changes in the 5003.1.1 tables 1 through 4 as needing any additional input on this from this group?
I know there was quite a bit of discussion and debate during the hearings for it, so I think it's pretty well vested where it's at. Should be pretty good.
Okay. And then 5003 or table 5003.1.1 number 5 on here. New table.
Yeah, that was a new table.
And do we need any amendments to this table?
I'm willing to wait to see if we get proposal requests on it.
Okay.
Yeah, that was gonna be my suggestion.
All right, 5003.8.3.5.4. Dot 3.5.4, 3, 5.4, flammable gas. is a new section for control area of flammable gas. Maybe do we need an amendment on this section, or expect proposals potentially?
I think it'd be the same thing.
Okay. 5003.8.7.2. Doors shall be well fitted and electrical. Both new sections. Do we want to say the same for the lines above for these two lines?
They're new sections, but I think it's more clarification for the hazardous material storage cabinets. It's just talking about the doors, and the electrical needs to be in accordance with NFPA 70.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody submit proposals for it, but
I don't, yeah.
Should there potentially be a pointer in here for the WAC that points them to the L&I?
I don't, did we do that within NFPA 70?
Do we do that on
the
other?
code? Yeah.
I feel like I've
Yeah.
seen it somewhere, but to tell you a specific location is escaping me at the moment. Only because I think I've seen it somewhere is the only reason I bring it up. But
we could look into that, I think.
yeah. Into
So a little education about the door section. So the door is self-latching is if you build it, but the UL 1275 cabinet, it doesn't have to be self-closing. Just a little. So if somebody buys a UL 1275 listed cabinet, a lot of us have gone out in the past and said, oh, it's not self-closing, there's not latching, you need to fix it. That's not necessarily true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 5003.11.2, category 1B flammable gas with a low burning velocity.
Is that a new definition? Flammable 1B was a liquid and flammable gas was just gas. Is that a new definition, Dave?
Yeah, that was just added in for this version, yeah.
Yeah.
So it even describes it with the on the spreadsheet. You can see where it talks about the that adds requirements for flammable gases into the definitions. So interesting that wasn't in there before.
Right. Okay. We'll take a look at it.
Any proposed or any necessity for an amendment in this section, or we'll let the industry drive that?
Yeah, let it roll.
Okay. Table 5003.11.2 is a new table. I would assume that since it's associated with the previous section, won't need a amendment, and we'll pass that on. 5003.11.2.1, a new section in here.
It's all flammable gas again too.
Okay.
Well, it does mention flammable liquids in there, but it's mostly flammable gases. So yeah.
Same for these sections here.
That's actually a new code, basically addressing the rooftop storage. So that's new.
And do we want to let industry drive any amendments for these sections?
Yeah.
That's down to 13.5. And I believe that that's going to take us through to the end of this chapter 50.
Yeah, I believe so.
And wait till the next code.
All right. Any other sections we want to go back and revisit before we entertain a motion on chapter 50? Seeing no hands. So we'd be ready to entertain a motion on chapter 50.
I motion
Yeah,
to
this
move
Kevin,
it
I'll make
forward.
motion. Well, then this Kevin, I'll second.
Then 4. Any further discussion on chapter 50? Seeing no hands, hearing no voices, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Is there any opposition? Hearing none, that motion passes.
Dustin, for a record, I'm heading out.
10-4. Thank you. Let me make a quick note on our attendance log.
Mrs. Walker, I am back if you didn't note it down when Dave mentioned.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't want to get caught voting when I wasn't supposed to.
Okay. So moving on to chapter 58. Also, no amendments within this chapter. Not a whole lot to go through here. A bunch of new sections. 5809. There we go. The whole section's new and looks to be the bulk of what we are identifying in our report here.
Yeah, that was a new section there that was submitted by the FCAC for the mobile on-demand hydrogen refueling operations.
So one thing I did miss before getting into exiting was labeling rooms and circuits, and I apologize for that.
All right, I don't think that one was meant for us. Do we have any discussion on this section for potential amendments, or do we want to say no amendments needed and proposals may come in and let the industry drive anything here?
Yeah, I think that's what I want to do.
Okay. Oh, I guess it's not for this table. Okay. Anybody want to talk about section 5809 in depth at all? I'm seeing no hands. So we'd be prepared to entertain a motion on section or on chapter 58.
Lance also moved.
We have a second.
Mrs. Walker, I'll second.
Any additional discussion on chapter 58? Seeing no hands, hearing no voices. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing no dissension, that motion passes. And that concludes chapters 40, chapter 50, and chapter 58. Save that. Let me update my spreadsheet real quick. We'll be getting to chapter 39 next. And that was done by Hugo.
I think you mean 41.
Oh, I probably didn't mark chapter 39 after we finished it. My bad. So yeah, chapter 41. Give me just a moment. I'll get that opened up in a second. Okay. All right, in chapter 41, there's no existing amendments for this section. So we got some new sections here, 4101.1 general. Maybe you want to consider a definition for temporary.
Yeah, I just felt like it was vague, but did I note maybe there was other areas in the code that define temporary? So if we were aligning with that.
I don't know if the code defines temporary or temporary buildings. Does it matter?
Well, use period. So I just think the TAG committee needs to determine what that may mean, or we can just fall back on the fire code official to determine the length of time.
Okay. For permits, new section, no cost, no amendment identified. Moving on from there, 4101.3 listed equipment, new section, no cost, no amendment. 4101.4 operation and maintenance is a new section with no cost and no identified amendment needed. 4101.4.1 is wildfire risk area. It's a new section with no concerns, no cost, and no amendment identified. 4101.4.2 attendance, new section with no cost and no amendment identified. And then 4101.4.3 fire extinguishers is another new section with no cost and no amendment identified as being needed. Then we skip to 4101.6 general. The comment is, if a new amendment is adopted, this will need to be updated to account for a proposed 4101.6.3.1 section. Hugo, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think I added storage of LP gas containers awaiting use shall be in accordance with section 6109.
Okay. And so if we get a proposal on that one, that'll just have to be coordinated in here as well?
Yeah, just.
Four 4101.6.3.1.
So your section 4106 general, it's really 4106.1 general. Your 4101.6 general. It's supposed to be 4101.6.1.
Oh, I
the
got you.
correct numbering for general.
Thank you.
4101.6 is LP gas.
Then moving to 4101.6.4 for refueling. Oh, and then is this one 4101.6.3.1 your proposed, you would put an amendment in here?
Yeah, I gotta recall it, or I think it may have referenced storage, but may have not been clear. Try to look back. 4101. Wait. 6.3. Yeah, I think I just moved it down. For refueling. Yeah, I just pushed, that one stays the same, 4101.6.4 refueling, that hasn't changed. I'm just adding this, the 4101.6.3.1 to the protection and security. So
Okay. 4101.6.4.1 storage.
You know,
Okay.
in the general says go to
I
chapter
see.
61. So the storage should fall under that as well. But referencing 6109 makes it more specific, I guess. Under 4101.6.1 general, say shall be per chapter 61.
I'm sorry, hold on. 4101.6.1 for general.
Second line says chapter 61 right there.
Oh, yeah, it does say that, yeah.
So, yeah.
So you could, yeah, because it does jump you back to 61. So yeah, that'd be fine. I think it's just because I read storage and I don't recall seeing it specified in storage, but in that body under general, it does tell you to go back to 61. So I'd be good with that too.
So I'm online looking at the 24 code on ICC, and then they don't show a 4101.6.3.1 storage. It's just 4101.6.3.
That's
Yeah, I
proposed
added
language
that.
by
Yeah,
Hugo.
Oh, proposed by Hugo.
yeah.
All right,
But we could remove that to that point made about it referencing you back to chapter 61 and under general.
So you want me to remove that from this one, Hugo?
Yeah, I think it saves some time and
Okay.
it goes to my intent to how we store them.
All right. Looking good?
Yeah.
Then I'll pop that off there as well. And at this point, we would say we don't need an amendment to general?
Correct.
Okay. And then I can remove this line completely. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries. 4101.6.7. I think that's just numbered wrong. Oil fired 4101.7 oil fired heaters.
Yeah.
4101.7. Okay. Yep. New section, no concerns, no cost, no amendment identified. 4101.8 refueling of flammable and combustible liquid fueled equipment. Recommend adding refueling and 20 feet is consistent with 3108.13.3 refueling requirements from tents or membrane structures. No cost. An amendment required or suggested here. We'll do a proposal needed for this section. Not to define temporary, but we'll just look for a proposal on this one. Proposal needed. Okay. That work is just a proposal needed to add these terms to this code section.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. 4101.9 cooking operations. You had a recommendation in here to add another number below it. Appropriate clearance from combustible and ignition sources shall be approved by the fire code official. That'll be a proposal needed. And anything else on that one, Hugo?
No.
All righty. 49 or no, sorry, 4101.1. That's not right. Hazard abatement 4101.10. I wonder if Excel's messing you up by, yeah, okay, 1 second. Okay. Yeah, 4101.10, hazard abatement. New section, no cost, no identified amendment need. 4101.10.1, correction of unsafe conditions. Another new section with no cost, no identified amendment needed.
Hey, just real quick, your column line 15 and 14 at the end, they say they added a 0.
Oh, okay. Here, let me change that back and we will just mess with the 1 here. Okay. There we go. Looking good?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you for catching that. It'd play heck with me later on when I'm trying to figure out where all this stuff is. For 4101.10.1, we covered that one. So we're on to 4104.1. So portable fuel-fired cooking appliances. New section, no cost, no identified amendment need. 4104.3, indoor cooking. Another consideration for storage of wood pizza ovens.
So we got to back up 4104.2. We're not adopting that section. Isn't this our barbecue section that got relocated?
Yeah, that's correction. Definitely don't want to miss that one again. That goes way back.
You know, I was waiting for somebody else to catch it, but
Actually, I was looking online. We have a wildfire in Spokane County right now, south of Spokane. So I was looking at the status on it.
Yeah, sorry, I was listening to radio at the same time.
How did the fire start? Do you know?
They're saying it was somebody was burning a slash pile. Wind caught it.
Unpermitted, I think, too.
Yeah, unpermitted. Yeah, I think that's why I saw that. We have a wind advisory going on in the city right now, too.
So for this one, this was in what section in the 2021? It's escaping me off the top of my head.
Section 3, isn't it?
You want the exact number, don't you?
It would. If you can at least point me to the correct chapter. Is it 90?
It should be the 308.
Yeah, I'm looking it up. It's
308.
Yep.
Okay. 308 is good enough. Move section.
308.1.4, I think. It's on the front page of your SBCC website.
Here, that's
and this slant stall, I'm double booked at 3:30. Are we going to be able to maintain a quorum if I have to jump off?
let me double check that. Yeah, we'll be good if you have to leave, Lance.
Okay, thanks, Justin.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, 308.1.4. Here. Adopted. Okay. All right. Moving on to 4104.3 for indoor cooking. Consideration for storage of wood pizza ovens.
Yeah, I'm trying to recall what I was trying to intend with that one. I have seen some, makeshift pizza ovens used in indoor cooking under tents and other mobile food trucks of sorts. Didn't know if this was encompassing the fuel, the wood that was needed for the use of these wood pizza ovens. I think that's what I was trying to intend with that one.
So would we be looking for industry to supply a proposal on this one?
Yeah, probably. They may have more in stake than I do.
All right. 4104.4 for cooking operations. You have a recommendation to add 2 more conditions to be met for this one?
Correct.
All righty. Then 4104.5, separation of cooking tents. New section, no cost, no recommendation for amendment. 4105.1, groups of cooking tents, new section with no cost, no amendment identified as being needed. 4105.1 I'm sorry, listed and labeled. Where do you want to? Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped over 4105.1 for portable electric cooking appliances, and then listed and labeled down here. Both new sections, no cost, no amendment. 4105.1.2, another new section says that we have a recommendation within the Word document to add an approved and listed into that line. And so we would need a proposal on that one. Do we want to indicate this one as needing an amendment?
I would like to consider, yeah, I just fear that people just plug in to any available power that we assume is 20 amps.
Anybody else have a comment on that?
I think it aligns with other areas in the code where it states approved and listed.
Okay. I'll leave it as the recommendation is yes. 4105.1.3 is for extension cords. New section with no cost and no amendment. Then temporary connections. 4105.1.4, new section, no cost, no amendment. Moving on to 4105.1.5, a new section with no cost and no amendment. Brings us to 4106.1. The cancel. 4106.1 is a new section with new or no cost, no amendment needed. 4106.4 for exhaust systems, new section with no cost and no amendment. Then brings us to 4106.4.2, fire protection systems and devices. Recommend adding an extinguisher section per 906. We'll say that we need a amendment there. And a proposal will be needed.
So, were you able to try to coordinate? Did we have any? We had what, one state amendment for the mobile food preparation vehicle under general. We wanted to add in probably or utilize LP gas systems or CNG systems. Is that in there?
It's not in this section, but we should coordinate that existing amendment with this section as well.
Yeah, so because they relocated mobile food preparation vehicles from 319 to this section. So 4106.1 is where we want to add in our existing state amendment that after the word produce smoke or grease-laden vapors, we add in or utilize LP gas systems or CNG systems. So that's in our WAC under chapter 3 and 319.1.
All right, so if I have in here proposal needed to coordinate the existing amendment from our 2021 section.
No, it's not a proposal from outside. It's just the proposal would be keeping the existing amendment that we have. Right? Because did we already cover chapter 3 and discuss this?
Yes. And then for the existing amendment from 2021, section 319, to add that amendment language to this section in here. So give me 2 seconds to pull up chapter 3.
Well, because there won't be a 319.1 and 21.7. This is why these meetings should not be for 3 hours.
It's not working with me here. So 4106.1 is where we want to have this one, or I'm sorry.
Yes, no, you're right. It's after the word where before, see where it says grease-laden vapors, and then in blue it says for the purpose.
Yep.
So
in between there?
Yeah, in between there is where we want to put in or
utilize LP gas systems or okay.
Yeah, or utilize LP gas systems or CNG systems for the purpose of preparing blah blah blah. And yeah, so you only want you only want to green up to the word systems. The shall comply with this section. You do not want to put that in green.
Should I just remove that?
Yeah, you need to remove it. Yeah, I'm sorry. You need to remove shall comply with this section. There you go.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right, Dustin, Lance Dahl, I have to step out. Thank you.
Thank you, Lance. Okay. Okay. I think I've got that one covered accurately.
Do we still have a quorum?
Yeah, with Lance, we checked that when he mentioned he was going to have to take off.
Okay.
We're good on that one. And so that was the only amendment we had for section 319 in 2021. And then we have some proposed amendments down here as well. Let's see.
And that probably is going to be brought on by the industry. It just seemed like a bit much as an AHJ to kind of oversee and the annual requirements seemed a bit restrictive.
Do we would we view this section being moved and kind of expanded as adding cost to the end user?
If we adopt the new language, yes. What I've kind of already recommended removing the annual requirements for inspecting and
Okay.
Yeah, the ICC CAH item tracks that the code change proposal wouldn't increase or decrease cost of construction, but ICC CAH doesn't consider cost upon the jurisdiction.
And just so the tag knows, the Washington State Association of Farm Marshals has now got a food truck inspection program statewide going on for those jurisdictions who want to cooperate. That will, if you inspect in one jurisdiction, you're good for all the jurisdictions that come into that agreement. So there is some regular annual inspections going on.
is that on the new checklist that you're saying?
Yes.
So I added a new line to this section for just 4106 as a whole section in here. And it's a move section from 319 in 2021. And I just have out here as a comments, amendments to this section will be driven by industry proposals.
That's good.
Do we need to touch on the rest of 4106 at all? Go by section by section?
I think it'll be driven by industry.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think those are good. So there is we think that they're going to have some thoughts on it. I think that's a good idea to see what they'll come up with.
And
The
that
last
that fuel gas system is inspected and it's already in the model code, so it's not new. The annual, it's already in there. It's in 319.10.3, so it's not new language.
Yeah, just came across that. Thank you.
yeah, it's just different in the mobile food. I don't think it's something that they're doing or expecting to do. I will add that the 4106.7 ovens, I don't know where I found it, but recommended adding the UL 2126.
Okay. So with that, that brings us to the end of chapter 41. Is there anything else you want to go back and touch on once more? If not, it is that point where we will entertain a motion for chapter 41.
Is it Hugo? Recommend a motion to approve chapter 41 as reviewed.
Okay. Do we have a second?
This is Kevin, all second.
So keeping it there, the big discrepancy.
Any additional discussion? Seeing no hands, hearing no voices. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any in opposition? Hearing none, that motion passes. And then that brings us to our last chapter, which is chapter 56, which was done by Lance. There's a couple existing amendments in there. And let's get to it. Close that. Save. I didn't get a Word document back with this one. So let's see. 5601. I'm not sure what's going on here. Okay, some extra tabs here. And then there's one amendment in here, or two amendments for 5601.1 for the scope. Let me pull it up in the 2021 code online. Mix. So provisions, ammunition. Okay. That looks like that's, and then in number 7, we have with DOT packaging regulations. Do we know if that N is a typo in the ICC code?
Changed it in exception 3 also. I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah.
What the differentiation between DOT little n and DOT is.
I'll strike it to align with what we have in our amendment. There we go. Okay. Looking at that one. So 5601.1, provision of change. So it's just our state amendment. Do we want to maintain this amendment?
Yes.
All right.
Mainly points to other state requirements, right?
And they just have the exceptions and everything listed in here. Getting to 5601.1. We'll pull up this again. We have 5601.1.1. Explosive material standard. In addition, we'll do. Let's see. All right, that appears to be that amendment. And then that's all we have in this one is the two amendments there. And we will come with a recommendation to maintain that existing amendment.
Dustin, this is Ricky Campbell. So
Yes, sir.
moved.
All righty. That is. We have a second on chapter 56.
Walker, I'll second.
Any further discussion on chapter 56? Seeing no hands, hearing no voices, all those in favor of moving chapter 56 to our master document, please say aye.
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 Any opposition? No opposition heard. That motion passes. And that concludes that chapter. Let me update that. And then we have chapter 80 in here, which we haven't touched on. Dave, you did send me an updated version on that. Should we go ahead and review that one here today as well?
I think that's fine. I don't think we're going to see any other updates to it. So, yep.
Okay. Let me get back to that document. So in here, did you give us a table on this one originally too, Dave?
I believe I did, but I'm not sure if I had the other amendments in there because there was just modifications of the dates on the amendments.
I think we have it. It's buried in front of names, not named exactly, so it's popping out at me. We'll just scroll through it if that's
it'll be pretty easy to see.
Okay, here I'm going to zoom it in so we're not looking at the side-by-side view. There. And is there any specific spot we should check in at, Dave?
Since it's been a while since I've looked at it, I know NFPA's got a couple corrections. I think it's pretty much just NFPA.
Okay. So here's another use of that N after the DOT.
Anybody have any insight on that?
DOT not.
They have to differentiate transportation with
DOT
the
national
from some other DOT. Yeah.
I had wondered if it was you're putting in the state, N would be the state, the DOT is national. I don't know. Complete guess.
Yeah, I do. I remember seeing it before, but I don't think I've ever understood why.
Yeah, I never hadn't questioned it till just now. And we wouldn't have the if it was to differentiate federal versus state, we wouldn't have the conflict because we're WSDOT. So if that was it, we'd be okay to just go DOT.
What about the sneeze? Sorry, guys. Okay, it passed. I talked about it. It went away. Okay. Oh, there's a DOT-Y.
Oh, that's interesting.
Found our answer.
So TN be transportation and TY is treasury.
Yep.
Okay.
Interesting.
Last word
Oh,
of the...
maybe. Oh, it's DOTN. Okay. I think that makes a little more sense.
Yeah.
TN is short for transportation.
Never noticed that. This first and last, the letter of the last word.
So do we keep the DOTNs to?
Yeah, should we go back in?
Yeah, probably should.
Yeah.
Okay.
So match what the rest of the code has got.
So we would need, I guess, a proposal to coordinate that one. I'll go back in here in a second. So you said there were some modifications in NFPA, Dave?
Yeah, NFPA's got a couple down there further.
So, David, Ken, did we want to clean up anything that model code messed up, like an NFPA 2? It's referenced in 5809.6 and 5809.5.1. Do we care enough to add it in?
Not at this point, I don't think. If it's is it coming in the errata?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen the errata, so
yeah,
I'm just looking at the.
Yeah, I would just let it deal with the errata at this point.
Okay.
And so
we had it's 13-22, except then I've updated the version for that, for which section of that is, that's the fire sprinkler and the pit exemption.
Okay. And are these highlighted ones the ones that you've updated since we last kind of looked at this?
Yep. I'll make sure you got that one in. And I know there's at least one other one because I got all the ones that were in the SID amendments are in there. So 130 is in there, updating it. And 855. I believe that was not that was one. That was at 142. Hey, yeah. That's a standard. That did not change with the date. So.
It looks like that brings us to the end of the reference standards chapter. All right, so we are in a position to entertain a motion for chapter 80.
I got one question, Dave, on the NFPA 33. They have a more current edition. I just need to verify that that same section exists. Just 20. Let me just find the membrane structure, because they have a 24 edition that's published. So I just got to see if membrane enclosures is in here. Oh. Well, you know what? Since I can't find it right away, if I need to do a code change, I'll do a code change.
Okay.
NFPA
I'll go with that.
102 is grandstands, holding telescoping seatings, tents, and membrane structures. Is that the one you're
No,
looking for?
it's in chapter 18 of NFPA 33, and so I did find it.
Okay.
So they haven't made, well, no, they have made some changes to it. So we'll have to just take a look at it.
Oh, I see. Membrane enclosures for spray. Okay.
Yeah. So it's chapter 18 of NFPA 33, the 24 edition.
Yeah, this was just the model code that pulled here, so yep, if we want to update it, we can update that.
Because that's not a model code amendment. 33 is not listed in the model code.
Not in 2404.
Yeah, that's all Washington State amendment. So
okay.
That's why I was thinking that maybe we want to just reference the 24 edition.
24 edition and modify that. Yeah, I'm gonna do that in amendment.
Okay.
Because it's amendment anyways, for amending the amendment.
Got it.
All right, does that work for NFPA 33 for that one?
That's good.
All righty. So now we're in the position to entertain a motion for chapter 80.
I motion to move chapter 80 forward.
I'll second. Ms. Walker.
All righty. Any additional commentary on chapter 80? Seeing no hands, hearing no voices. All those in favor of moving chapter 80 to our master document as depicted on screen, please say aye.
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 Any in opposition? Hearing none, that motion passes. That pretty much brings us to the end of our assigned chapters. I did want to touch on, this isn't on our agenda, but I wanted to touch on the appendices. If we could potentially entertain a motion to just move all the appendices to our master report with no significant changes and no existing amendments, just so I can have them as a placeholder for their content in our report.
Right. I move all the appendices forward.
We have a second?
This is Kevin, I'll second.
All righty. Any additional discussion? All right. All those in favor for moving all of the appendices to our master document, please say aye.
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 Any in opposition? Hearing none, that motion passes. And that completes our preliminary review of the fire code. I will give you guys a round of applause.
Yes.
Because it's a significant work we've done here today. And so moving forward, we'll be canceling the already scheduled IFC tag meetings until we're ready with the report, and we'll reach out and get an additional meeting scheduled. I'm thinking that we can probably push out for a week, maybe 2 weeks to get this done on the staff part. And then we'll publish out to everybody the master document. And then we'll schedule one more meeting to review that as a whole. And we can touch any section we want to in there. And then the goal would be to approve that master report for submittal to the committees prior to a special July council meeting.
And then, Dustin, the one other thing that I think we all need to be figuring is what I see as a potentially a combined meeting with the IBC tag to go through those you know, those sections where we said we needed to coordinate. So, and the IFC is ahead of the IBC. We're not, the IBC is not as far along, although I think I missed the last meeting. So I think keep your eyes and ears open for an upcoming meeting where we would try to list, you know, certain chapters where we need coordination.
We
So
also thought about the same for IMC, the mechanical code. There are certain provisions for the overlap, right?
yes, although I think isn't the mechanical code in group 2, Dustin?
No, that one's currently working with Krista. They're about 80% done with their reports review right now as well. So what I'm thinking is I don't know if we want to bring all 3 tags together to coordinate sections. But I was thinking once the master report's done, we can bring everybody, like bring the IFC and IBC together, and then bring the IFC and the mechanical tag together, and have a quick meeting. I'd say like an hour to go over the coordinated sections, and just make sure the language isn't clashing there. And then once we do that, we can maybe move our master reports to the committees at that point. Does that sound kind of like a good tack to take on that, Roger?
Yeah, I think individual, you know, one meeting with IFC and IBC and then another meeting with IFC and IMC. I know there were a lot more IBC things that we tagged than IMC, but yeah, certainly I think a meeting with all of our group and all of their group would be the best way for us to try to resolve those.
Okay. So after this meeting, I'll reach out to the chairs of the other groups and try to coordinate some of that and see where we're landing with the different reports, getting ready for the committee meetings. And I would just say stay tuned. I'll give you guys about a week's heads up on the next meeting so that we can digest the big long report before that meeting. And yeah, is there anything else from anybody? I guess I'll turn the meeting back over to Roger. That'd be most appropriate.
Well, I think that there was an other business on the agenda item, so I will ask if there's any other business. Ken's got his hand up.
Just got to ask the chair. I don't know if this was the policy, but are we doing anything about tag members that haven't attended 3, 4 meetings in a row? Are we looking at replacing?
And during this meeting, I went back through the minutes to see who had not, and there was only one member. So I emailed Dustin. I think either Dustin and I will reach out to those folks and ask.
This is my attendance list I've got running for everybody. So the bars in yellow are our members who haven't been here for some time.
Although I saw Ming was here for at least part of this meeting.
Okay, then I'll have to go back and check in on that one. When we did roll call, I didn't hear her, and I didn't hear the voice at all today. Yeah. Well, she's here right now.
She is.
Yes, I'm here. I did say but maybe, I don't know, maybe covered by either voice.
It's all right. I appreciate you joining us, Ning, sorry. And I will make sure that this is filled out appropriately.
So, Ken, yes, I think that's between me as the chair of the committee and Dustin is to flag those people. And you know, I read back through the new I sent an email, the 6921 or whatever the new legislation was, and you know, it says that if people miss more than 3, the council can make their position. It isn't an automatic you're out of it. Subject to. So I think my intent was to reach out to those people and say, do you want to be included? And you know, and if so, please participate. So
and one of the other caveats of that section there in our bylaws is if their absence or continued absence has affected our establishment of a quorum, that we would send a letter out to their group. But we haven't suffered a lack of quorum due to the absences as of yet.
Yeah. So good question.
I think it's an ongoing discussion to, I guess, talk to direct the answer back to Ken. Is we're going to be talking about it.
Yeah. Okay. Any other new business? If not, I want to reiterate what Dustin said. You guys have done an awesome job. All the way through all the chapters. Great comments, great discussion. So thank you very much for all of your hard work.
And thank you, Roger and Dustin, for your leadership too. You guys managed it well.
You bet. Well, with that, we will close the meeting and keep your eyes open for upcoming meetings for both of the outstanding issues of coordinating with the IMC and the IBC, and then reviewing the final report. So, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Good work, everybody.
Thank you.